based. So let's watch it. Ah, did we do that? Okay, let's go.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. You daily dive into the news, and we have a lot to talk about today. But first, gonna switch things up for a second and not immediately stress you out or ruin your day. As many of you long-timers know, I'm an avid book reader and audiobook listener, and sporadically I recommend things, but I figured, why not actually have our own little book club? So today, I'm launching the DeFranco Book Club, and it's simple. I recommend one book a month that I really enjoy, and then you read it or you don't read it. That's it. But because this is the launch, I'm gonna announce 2 books for this month, one that you might have heard me gush over for the past 2 years, and one that's new. The first, you know it's coming. Project Hail Mary. It's from Andy Weir. He made The Martian, also lesser known Artemis. It's one of my favorite books from the last 2 years. Unlikely Hero World.
Are we playing this at 1.5x or does he just sound like that? That guy just sounds like that. He's just Italian, bro. Leave him alone.
Saving sort of thing. Don't want to ruin the story. I will never stop recommending this book. But then for something newer and, you know, we're getting into spooky season, I'm recommending Incidents Around the House. It's by Josh Malerman. It is really good. It is a horror story told from the viewpoint of an 8-year-old girl. It's paced well. It's interesting. It actually made me really nervous at times. I feel like with 19. Horror, so we've got to talk about abortion being in the news right now. Starting with the fact that, you know, when you think about all the states in America where a woman would be denied an emergency abortion, California is probably the last one you'd have in mind. But that is exactly what happened to 36-year-old Anna Nuzla, with her alleging that she was denied essential emergency care even though her health was at risk and her pregnancy wasn't viable. But the big difference between her story and all the horrific accounts that we've heard about women being denied care is that California is actually standing up for her and they're suing the hospital that refused to provide care for violating her rights. And that marking the first time since Roe was overturned that a state has gone after a hospital for violating abortion protections, which is absolutely massive because while the federal government has sued hospitals in states with abortion bans, no states have tested abortion rights in this manner. And with that, what California is doing could have huge implications for other states. So let's start with what the hell happened that resulted in a woman being denied care in a state with some of the strongest abortion protections. Right? Because there, according to the lawsuit, which was announced yesterday by the state attorney general, Anna and her husband had been trying to have a baby for years and they experienced multiple miscarriages before she finally got pregnant with twins. But early on, she started experiencing severe cramping, pain, and bleeding. It becoming so serious, she had to go to Providence St. Joseph Hospital in Eureka 2 times, with that being a Catholic-affiliated hospital with the most well-equipped emergency department in the region. But both times, she was told that the fetuses had heart tones and was sent home despite her symptoms persisting. But then, when she was just 15 weeks pregnant, her water broke way too soon, with that causing severe bleeding and pain, and she was rushed to the nearest emergency room, which just so happened to be Providence St. Joseph Hospital in Eureka. And when she got there, the doctors informed her that one of the twins' amniotic sacs had broken and lost all fluid, meaning that it wasn't going to survive. And when she asked about the other twin, they told her that it was extremely unlikely that she could maintain the pregnancy. And so as a result, the doctors agreed that if Anna didn't terminate the pregnancy quickly, she would be putting herself at risk for infection, hemorrhaging, and threaten her future fertility. But despite the fact that the doctors literally recommended she abort the other twin, she was informed that hospital policy prevented them from giving her an abortion because one twin still had traceable heart tones and her life was not at enough risk. But then at the same time, the lawsuit also alleges that a doctor suggested that Anna take a helicopter to a hospital almost 300 miles south in San Francisco, but warning there that it would cost $40,000 that her insurance wouldn't cover. When she asked if she and her husband could make the nearly 5-hour drive to San Francisco, she said the doctor replied, "If you try to drive, you will hemorrhage and die before you can get to a place that can help you." Which I just have to ask, like, if someone is going to die if they drive less than 5 hours, how does that not qualify as life-threatening? But that said, after several hours at Providence, Anna and her husband drove 12 miles to Mad River Community Hospital. Before leaving Providence, she claims that a nurse sent her away with a bucket of towels like you'd use to clean a bathroom for the car ride. And then when she finally arrived at Mad River, she was actively hemorrhaging. She passed a massive blood clot. She spontaneously delivered one of the twins and then was rushed to the OR so that the other fetus could be removed. With her doctor there saying in court documents that Nuzla lost considerably more blood than expected during the procedure. Very notably here, that doctor also said that she had treated other patients who had been denied abortions by Providence in similar instances. With Anna herself later telling reporters, "I'll never forget looking at my doctor, tears streaming down my face, my heart shattered into a million pieces and just pleading with her, 'Don't let me die,' adding, 'My daughters deserved better and I deserved better.'" And so with this, California Attorney General Rob Bonta told reporters yesterday that Anna's case shows that these kinds of abortion horror stories, they can happen even in California, a place that is very strongly pro-choice. And adding, "We do not want another Anna." And the lawsuit specifically accusing Providence of violating a California law that requires all hospitals with emergency rooms to provide care to anyone in danger of loss of life or serious injury or illness, as well as saying what they did went against state laws concerning civil rights and business conduct. Now, very Very notably, in this situation, there are laws that allow doctors to opt out of performing elective abortions due to religious beliefs and prevent religious-affiliated hospitals from being forced to perform those elective procedures. But a very key thing is that emergency protections law does not allow for religious exceptions when hospitals operate emergency rooms like Providence does. So as a result, Bonta is seeking an injunction to ensure that Providence's patients are getting emergency healthcare, including abortion, which is especially important because Mad River, where Anna ultimately ended up getting the care she needed, they're actually closing their labor and delivery unit later this month, meaning that Providence, that's going to be the only hospital in Humboldt County that even has a labor and delivery unit. Now, with all that
Straight up, Catholics are like ruining this country. I don't I don't care if that's like makes like the evangelicals mad, but there are the diehard Catholics in this country that insist on changing all of the politics in this country to fit their religious book are fucking ruining this country. Straight up, like, I have no words. Okay, sorry. I wanted to get to the actual Israel story.
It's like they're striking out playing T-ball. But then, shifting gears, as we predicted last week, we have some huge updates to the Israel-Lebanon situation today. Starting with late last night, you had IDF troops crossing the border into Lebanon in what they described as a limited and localized ground operation to take the fight to Hezbollah. And that coming after a night of brutal strikes across Lebanon that killed more than 100 people, which makes the number over the past 2 weeks 1,000 dead and 6,000 wounded. With outlets describing last night's actions as an invasion, though you had Israeli officials trying to downplay the assault, with them pointing out that Israeli troops have done many incursions into Lebanon over the past year, with those generally done by special forces, which have conducted at least 70 raids during that time. But apparently it's also been done by normal troops on over a dozen occasions. And all of this drawing a lot of criticism from many, including commentators like Hassan Piker, who has long been critical of Israel's actions in the region, writing on Twitter. Israel has packaged all its illegal occupational actions, including apartheid in the West Bank and genocide in Gaza, by claiming self-defense. America hasn't restrained Israel at all since early October, and now it's, quote, self-defending by moving to overtake southern Lebanon once again. But this is Israeli officials have their own version of why.
Hey, that's a picture of Hank Pecker, not a Hassan Piker. What the?
They're invading, saying it's not to reoccupy southern Lebanon like they used to before 2006. Instead, saying it's to enforce Resolution 1701, which, if you've never heard of, put an end to a short war with Israel and Hezbollah back in 2006, with both sides agreeing to withdraw from a specified area that created a buffer between the so-called Blue Line border on Israel's north and the Litani River in Lebanon. And instead, 17,000 UN troops, as well as the official Lebanese army, would be put there to keep the peace and help people back into their homes. However, despite Israel agreeing to leave southern Lebanon, Hezbollah has pretty much ignored the resolution completely, with Israel claiming this allows the group to easily launch missiles into Israel from just across the border, with one official even claiming, quote, "We've seen attempts of Hezbollah to infiltrate Israel. In some cases, one of our brigade's deputy commanders was killed, and this is something that they have been planning for years." With the IDF also showing footage of alleged Hezbollah tunnels that go across the border, alongside accusations that Hezbollah planned to massacre Israeli civilians like Hamas did. So at least officially, Israel...
The most fucked up thing about Twitch is that, or not Twitch, sorry, about Israel is that they've used the tunnel, the terror tunnel, propaganda so much recently, in recent years. Obviously, it's been for a very long time, but in recent years, ever since, well, honestly, since October 7th, it's been such a joke that the second that they say tunnels, I don't even listen anymore. It's just such a joke.
Israel's goal is to get Hezbollah back across the Litani River and to stay there as a non-threat to Israel, which you have people saying is a notable difference from what it wanted in Gaza. Right there, it vowed to eradicate Hamas, but we'll also have to wait and see if Israel's goals change as its operations continue. Because a lot of people don't believe that Israel will stop at this stated goal. And all of this comes as Israel has largely decapitated Hezbollah's leadership, including now its elusive leader who was at the group's underground bunker complex in Beirut. Though despite the early successes of Israel's operation, Hezbollah hasn't just been sitting around. Right? They've conducted rocket strikes across the border and hit many Israeli towns. Though the biggest fear is what Iran will do, because they are a major supporter of Hezbollah and they've had operatives working with the group in Syria for years now. And I mean, today we started off reporting that the US fears that a missile attack from Iran was imminent, with them even warning that embassy personnel and their families needed to shelter in place until further notice. So Israel originally pushed back on this, with an IDF spokesperson saying, as of this moment, Israel does not perceive an imminent threat from Iran. But then, as we were filming the show, they switched their tune, with Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari warning that a large-scale attack was imminent and for citizens across the country to shelter.
I will never see this guy as anything other than the guy who who got made fun of by TikTok for the calendar. That's it. That's all he is to me now. Hagari. Hold up. See if I can find the TikTok. Oh, that was him? Yeah. I'm pretty sure this was him. I'm like 99% sure that this is him. Pretty hard to find it. Yeah, here it is.
In Arabic this says, we declare some war. We are in operations. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Hamas Day.
This is the guy who found like a calendar, owned by Hamas. And he tried to make it out to be something that it wasn't. It was just a calendar. An Israeli an Israeli army spokesman is being mocked online after showing viewers a weekly calendar as evidence to support Israel's claim that Al-Rantasi Hospital in Palestine's Gaza is a Hamas base. Yeah.
This is a Guardian list where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here.
Did these guys like forget that people can read Arabic? And we can read the text that's on there and see that it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the dates.
When he was pointing, making it seem like he was reading it left to right. Arabic is right to left. It's a calendar, y'all. It's literally the days of the week. Monday, الاثنين, Tuesday, الثلاثاء, Wednesday, الأربعاء.
All of these Hamas terrorists here in charge of hostages.
And they aired this on live television to the world. No fact check. Nobody said, wait a minute, why don't we get somebody who speaks Arabic, who can read Arabic,
Just to make sure.
say what this actually says. But no, nobody at CNN wanted to fact check it, and Israel blatantly lied to the world once again.
There were more videos of people making fun of it. It was really good. It was really good, actually. Oh my God, dude. Anyway, sorry. I hope everyone else in here now, if you haven't seen that video and you didn't know about this, I hope you know now. I will never respect this guy ever. I mean, I already don't respect any of like the fucking operatives and higher ups in Israeli government or in the Israeli military, really. But this guy especially.
Shelter in place, with it then taking about 10 minutes for the missiles to travel from Iran to Israel, and it was clear that this attack was much bigger than the few strikes Iran sent back in April. And while information's still coming in, because this is developing as we're making the show, right now it looks like Iran sent over 100 intercontinental ballistic missiles into Israel, which is a really important distinction because these are generally much faster than the rockets Hamas sends in, and it's a real stress test for Israel's Iron Dome. Based on reports, it seems like Tel Aviv was the target, and the footage is insane, right? There are waves after waves of missiles falling into the city, some of which seem to be destroyed, but it's hard to confirm. However, explosions were also heard, making it clear that some at least struck the city. And it's just that as we're recording, we don't know the extent of the damage or how many people were killed in the strike. And so, of course, all of this marking a very, very clear escalation of the hostilities between Israel, Hezbollah, and Iran, which, you know, is why we've seen so many people taking this seriously. I mean, even before the attacks, the US and UK had troops on high alert in the region. And now since Iran's attack, Biden and Harris have met to discuss the situation on how to move forward. And as for Israel, it is now widely expected that they will retaliate, and former Israeli ambassador to the US, Michael Oren, is on CNN saying there are no facilities, including nuclear facilities, that are immune from an Israeli response. And so it currently feels like there's no reason to think that things will not
Normal stuff.
continue to escalate. And specifically regarding that, within Lebanon, the big question is what will Lebanon's actual army do and whether Hezbollah will actually try to dig in and fight or just move behind the Litani River. And then of course within Iran, everyone's gonna be on edge to see how Israel responds. And again, this is all developing in real time, so we're gonna have to wait to see what happens next. And then, are you watching the debate tonight and how are you watching the debate tonight? Right at 9 p.m. Eastern, you got JD Vance and Tim Walz taking the stage. And while vice presidential debates usually aren't that big of a deal, one, this race right now is incredibly close, so you never know what's gonna tip the scales. And two, this may very well be the last debate before the election, or because Trump has so far refused Harris's challenge to have a second debate. Which, yeah, I mean, if someone smacked my ass like that on national television, I don't know if I'd be coming around for seconds. But, with that, while obviously we're going to talk about the debate tomorrow, for today, I gotta ask, if you're watching it, how are you watching it? Or because one thing that this whole election cycle, but especially big events like this have put a spotlight on, is how important streaming platforms like Twitch, Kick, Rumble, and even YouTube have been. Right, there's been this long evolution, but now, more than ever, it's not just about gaming, it's also about politics. But that is especially true this year. In fact, on Twitch, for example, the number of broadcasting hours under the politics tag has increased almost 40% since last year. And yeah, of course, it has to do with how insane American politics have become and the fact that it is an election year. But notably, regardless of the reason, all that's meant that streamers have become a big focus for both presidential campaigns. I mean, you're talking about millions of mostly young, mostly male Americans whose primary source of news and information are these streaming sites, right? I mean, when Harris demolished Trump in their debate last month, tons of people were watching on a live stream not connected to a news organization. With Hassan Piker, for example, unsurprisingly, one of the most watched with around 170,000 people concurrently tuning into his stream. That being 36% higher than when he streamed a presidential debate in 2020. And this is also, you have people like Aiden Ross, who notoriously interviewed and gifted Trump a Rolex and a Cybertruck back in August. And audiences like Ross's, they're a key big thing because that audience is what Trump's people have explicitly referred to as target persuadables, right? And what that means is men under 40 who are more likely to get their news from social media than from newspapers or TV. But in any case, right, the actual most watched commentator on a live stream was a guy by the name of Dan Bongino, right? If all the numbers are legitimate, he had around 349.
Dan Bongino. I thought it was Bongino. Is it Bongino?
1,000 viewers on the conservative streaming platform Rumble, which again, if those numbers are legitimate, means that more people watched
Dan Oingo Boingo.
stream the debate on Rumble than watch the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN stream of the debate on their own YouTube channel. And beyond that, Rumble actually reportedly broke its record for concurrent viewership on the night of the Harris.
Yeah, I only know that guy. I only know Dan Bongino from, he's made one appearance on a show, I don't remember which one, and from I Want to Be at the RNC. That's it. Isn't Rumble like super botted? Yeah, that and Kick. The one actually good thing about Twitch is that the numbers on Twitch are actually really accurate because Twitch really cracks down on botting. But botting on Kick is really bad and botting on Rumble is really bad from my understanding. And like, why wouldn't it be, right? If you're trying to like compete with the pre-existing live stream market, you probably want your numbers to look better than they actually are. Also, this seems like it's like actually breaking. One sec. There was a